Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be going through the first lesson of Unit 2, which is solving linear equations. And so in linear equations there are a few types of problems that we're going to try out. So first is we're just going to try out like a single variable equation. Then we'll be trying out equations where you have to solve variables that are on both sides of the equal sign. And lastly, we'll be going through like questions that have fractions and like basically a compilation of every single type of question that we've gone through. And then we'll be going through special cases as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve the first question. So the first question, which is 3x plus 5 equals 20. So this is an example of the single variable equation. This is probably one of the easiest questions that you'll be solving, like the type. So let's see, we have let's move this over here. So we have 3x, alright, e plus 5 equals 20. And so from here, what we want to do is basically want to bring all of your variables into one side of the equal sign and move all your constants or your numbers to the other side of the equal sign. So in this case, we'll have to move the 5 to the right. And so how would we do that? How would we move the 5 from the left of the equal sign to the right? Well, since it's 3x plus 5, it would only be reasonable if we subtracted 5 from the left side and then also subtract 5 again on the right side in order to equal it out. So basically, you'd subtract 5. So you would subtract subtract 5 from both sides, so then you get 3x equals 15. And then after that, next you have to isolate the variable even further by bringing the 3x equals 15, so bring the 3, which is the coefficient of the variable, to the right side. And by doing that, we won't add or subtract because it's right next to each other, right? It's not like x minus 5, right? You have to divide by 3 because you're multiplying 3 by x, right? So divide it to get rid of it. And so divide by 3 on both sides. So that would give you an answer of x equals 15 divided by 3, which is the same thing as 5. So your final answer would be x equals 5. Alright, so let's go to the next type of equation that we'll be solving. So the next type of equation that we'll be solving is basically when we have a single variable on the left side and we basically have to simplify it a little bit more by just simplifying on both sides before we solve to make it easier for us. Alright, so let's take a look. So we have 13x minus 26 equals 65 minus 39. So first, like I said before, we need to isolate the variable, right? By bringing the variables all on one side and then bringing the constants on the other side. So let's see. We have 13x. We have 13x minus 26. I know I'm just rewriting it. I don't know why I'm doing that, but 65 minus 39. So let's see. On the left side, we have 13x minus 26. But on the right side, we can see that there are no variables. So you can just subtract the constants. So that would be equal to finally we'd get 13x minus 26 equals, well, 65 divided by minus 39 is 26. So just do it like that. And so after that, notice on the left side you have 13x minus 26, right? And then on the right side we have 26, so we can add 26 on both sides in order to basically move the constants to the right side again. Because the whole process, whenever you're solving any linear equation, you always want to move your variables to one side and then your constants to the other side. So let's do that. So 13x, and now since it's 13x minus 26, you would add 26 to both sides. So 13x equals 52. Alright, so now that we have this, now we just divide by 13 like how we did in the first question. So then our final answer would be, x equals 52 divided by 13, which is the same thing as 4. And yeah, that's basically the answer, x equals 4. So now let's look into another type of problem. this is basically, you can see that we have variables on both sides of the equation. So it's basically the same steps, right? We just move the variables to one side and then we move the constants to the other side. So let's do that. So we have 12x plus 75 equals 17x minus 45. When doing this, now let's first, you can do the constants one side first before turning the variables to the other side. It's your personal choice, but I like just putting the variables to one side and then moving the constants to the other. So let's subtract 17x on both sides. So then we would have 12x minus 17x, and then carry over. Oops, let's move this to the bottom. So we have 12x minus 17x, and then carry over your constants because you still have those, right? Equals negative 45, because all we did was just move or got rid of the variable on the right side and moved it to the left. So 12x minus 17x is the same thing as negative 5x. So 12x minus 17x is the same thing as negative 5x, and then the constant 75 equals negative 45. So now we've gotten it into like how we solved the first two questions. We have one single variable plus a constant equals another constant. So now what do? We move the constant to the other side. So we have negative 5x plus 75. So let's subtract the 75 from the left and the right. So then we would have negative 5x equals negative 45 minus 75. And so this simplified even further is, then it's negative, this is the same thing as negative 45 plus negative 75. So that would equal negative 120. And then now we just divide both sides by negative 5. Or you can even divide it by 5 and then take another step to divide by negative 1 because of the negative. But I just like doing it the full thing. So then x equals negative 120 divided by negative 5. And that's the same thing as 24. So yeah, that's the final answer. X equals 24. Now let's look into the last type of problem, which is having fractions, or basically you could just call this like a combination of all the types of problems that we've gone through so far. Because it has like variables on both sides, it's gonna go into like a single variable, constant. So let's just take a look at it. So we have 12x plus 24 divided by 6 equals 14x plus 10. Now, all we have to do is, we can see on the left side that there's parentheses and we're dividing it by 6. So let's multiply. There's several ways to take a look at this. There's several ways to do it. First, you can multiply by 6 on both sides of the equation so you can get rid of the 6. Or you can divide 6 by what is in the parentheses, because you can see that 12x plus 24, both the 12, the coefficient, and the 24, the constant, are divisible by 6, right? So let's do that. That's the easier way to approach it, right? If you want, you can go multiply by 6 on both sides. Then you'll end up doing 14 times 6 and 10 times 6. That's just too much of a hassle. So let's just do it like this. So then we would have, so let's put our parentheses. So we have 12x divided by 6 plus 24 divided by 6 equals 14x plus 10. And now you might be wondering, but why didn't I do the same thing on the right side, right? But because this divided by 6 is only pertaining to what is inside the parentheses. So that's why you only have to worry about what is in the parentheses of the left side of the equation and not what's in the right. So let's further solve this. So then 12x divided by 6 is the same thing as 2x, because you don't divide x by 6 because it's a variable, plus the 24 divided by 6, which is 4, equals 14x plus 10. Alright, so now let's move the variables to one side and move the constants to the other. So 2x minus 14x plus 4 equals 10. Right? Yeah. Alright, so now let's simplify this even further. So 2x minus 14x is the same thing as negative 12x plus 4 equals 10. And then we would have negative 12x. Oops. We have negative 12x equals 6 because we're subtracting by 4 on both sides, and which gives us x equals negative 1/2. So that's our final answer. X is equal to negative 1/2. Let me move this down so you guys can see what I did. There you go. Let's just move this up a bit. There you go. And so yeah, that's basically the final answer. And so for the next video, it's basically going to be a continuation of what I did in this video. I'll just be talking about special cases of solving linear equations. So that'll still be part of lesson 1. So yeah, that's basically it for this video, guys. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.